Hi everyone. Are you a mom that is dealing with a toxic adult child? If that is you, we're going to talk about that today. And for those of you that are brand new to my channel, I just want to welcome you. My name is Sally Harris, and I'm a mom who walked a difficult road with my own daughter for over 10 years. And while her life spiraled in the one direction, mine went in the other. And I want to talk about this today because, first of all, I do not like the word toxic, but is the best way to describe a behavior. I am not describing your child, right? And I want you to note that as well, like the difference between your son or daughter and their behavior. It's separate, right? So we may not like the behavior, but we love our child, okay? So the first step in handling this situation is acknowledging, just like anything else in life, right? Unless we acknowledge it, it's not going to get better. We're not going to be able to do the things that we need to do to be able to cope with the situation. Now, you and I both know you do not have control over the behavior that your adult child is exhibiting. However, you do have control over what you're going to tolerate, right? And so by a mom participating in a toxic conversation, you don't have to participate in every fight you're invited to, right? We all know that. It's really hard though when it's your adult child and they're coming at you and they're being disrespectful and you want to just kind of be defensive and come right back at them with things because you know that probably what they're saying, you're probably not agreeing with the situation at the moment. So I have some tips here today I want to talk to you about because there are some ways to diffuse this, okay? Like I said, first is acknowledgement. We need to acknowledge that, yes, this is what's happening and knowing that, okay, what is my next step? What do I do? Well, seeking support is huge. That is, I know it may seem like common sense, but you would not believe the amount of moms that I talk to that end up joining my group coaching program who have zero support. They have no family that they can talk to safely about this. Their friends are just plumb out tired of hearing about it, right? And I can relate to that. I went through the same thing. And so seeking support is very crucial. Now, when it comes to communication with your adult child, like I said earlier, avoid being defensive. That is not going to solve anything. Put on your listening ears. Now, when this first starts, it's coming out of nowhere. So your first reaction is probably defensiveness because you're like, what in the world is going on here? Maybe they just started acting this way. Now, toxic behavior can come from, obviously drugs, right? Alcohol, mental illness. It can just be downright manipulation, right? There's a whole gamut of things it can be. And so I'm not here to diagnose your child, but it's something that you need to have communication with them that needs to be honest and direct. And I would encourage you to be an active listener in participating with them. Talking to them and listening with two ears is really super important because you're going to learn a lot by what they tell you. I'm not saying everything they're telling you is right. It might be their perception, though, of a situation that whatever you're arguing about. And so once you realize that this is what you're dealing with, it's time to set boundaries. And we talk about this a lot. And they're really essential in any relationship, not just your child, mother-child or parent-child relationship. You need to be clear about what behaviors you're going to accept. Okay, so if your adult child is still living at home for some reason, whether they're in college or maybe their failure to launch and they're just not doing anything. I've worked with a lot of moms who are dealing with that. You have got to set these boundaries. It is the only way that you're going to get them to rise up, right? And take responsibility for their own life. It is not your responsibility at this point in the game. Now, if they're 15, 16, 17, that's different, right? We're talking about adult children here. That's the difference. But you need to be very clear about what you're going to tolerate and make it clear to them so there's no misunderstandings, right? So if they are living at home, time to set those guardrails for you, for your own health, and for them. And they're not going to like it. And just remember, when boundaries are set, if someone doesn't like it, it's just proof that it's needed, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't have a problem, agreeing to XYZ if it wasn't needed. So, also encourage accountability for them. There's a lot to be said. when my daughter was going through this, I had arranged a couple different mentors even during her teen years, trying to get things, a safe place for her to talk about whatever was going on. Now, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but helping somebody keep them accountable for their actions if they're willing to do that. And sometimes even depending on the relationship you have with your adult son or daughter, sometimes that they'll be okay with that too. It's definitely worked in a lot of cases. There's so many of these tips, right? So for those of you that I've never talked to before, maybe you're new to my channel or you've never set up a discovery call. When you're ready for help and you want to talk to me and you want to have a consultation to see how I can help you, I want you to click the discovery link below. And that is a 30-minute consultation, and you can go ahead and set that up. Lastly, I just want to mention to you, I want you to focus on the positive. We can find positive things in every situation. We can find negative things in every situation. You, my friend, gets to choose what you're going to do. And focusing on the positive attributes about your child, focusing on different ways to connect. Don't be that one topic parent, right? Maybe there's one sticking point in your relationship that is just puts you at odds all the time, and it's just driving you crazy. There are ways around that. There's ways to get through to them. Now, at the end of the day, you don't have control over how they're going to respond. It doesn't matter how eloquently or how great you are, like at bringing, forth conversation to them. If they're not having it, they're not having it. There's nothing you're going to do to change their mind. However, your behavior as a mom, and I say behavior, like how you communicate with them, how you continue to take care of yourself and move on with your own life, in spite of what's going on, that you're not, wallowing in this like I did. I don't want you to wallow in all of this. It's not going to serve anyone. It's not going to help your child. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help your marriage, your friendships, anything. I promise it's not going to help. What you need to do is put your chin up and look in the mirror and say, this is what I can control. Okay? And if that's you and you're ready for that, I can't wait to hear from you. I hope that helps you. Just remember to try not to be defensive. That's one of the things that moms do all the time because we know that we're mom and we have all the answers, or we think we do sometimes, right? And this is not the time for that. This is the time that usually when kids come at you like that, it's because they're trying to reach out, sometimes for help, sometimes because they are just really in pain over something that has happened in the past. It could be big, could be small. Don't always catastrophize things. I used to do that a lot, and it did not serve me either. I would always assume the worst, like, oh my gosh, the worst possible thing that could have happened to her has happened to her. And I had it all played out in my head, and guess what? Those things never happened. So I wasted a lot of years thinking on things that didn't even happen. And so I encourage you to not go that direction. So I hope that helps you today, and just know that there is hope. There's hope for your child, there's hope for you, and there's hope for your relationship. So don't ever give up. All right, talk to you soon.